All right, hi y'all. Welcome to our first Create meeting. It's a so what's design session. We're gonna kind of learn some of the more intricate parts of design, even though we're kind of taking a little sampling journey. So it's kind of an oxymoron. Our goal as acmCreate is to cultivate a community of creatives in tech and educate y'all on the best design practices. We're a path that is focused on all things design. Some of the things that we look at are UX research, visual design, accessibility, and it's basically tech meets creativity. And I'd like to introduce you to my board as well. So I'm Jacob. I'm the Create Director.
Hi, I'm Lisa, and I'm the Create Officer.
What's going on, you guys? My name is Ploythai. I'm a second year studying computer science, and I am a Create Officer.
Hi, I'm Matthias, and I'm a second year studying computer science, and I just do what they tell me to do.
So we're just going to hop right into the meat of this, which is kind of breaking down and understanding UX versus UI. What is UI? Well, UI consists of the components and layout of the product. Usually it includes things like color scheme, animations, typography, and visual elements. You can think of a UI of an app, for example, as the color buttons that they use, how big a certain element on the screen is supposed to be, and what kind of text they're using. And what is UX? And this one actually trips. We accidentally left a part of it as UI. But UX consists of designing the holistic user experience. It involves things like user journey, affinity mapping, and user interviews. User journey is mapping out, okay, how is the user going to interact with this app on a day-to-day basis? Also, how do they navigate from one part to another, or how do they use it in this situation? So you're kind of predicting the user's moves in that. Affinity mapping is kind of taking an abstract problem within design, which it is always kind of that way, where you have some sort of issue that you're trying to solve, but there's no straightforward answer. And so you talk to people and get their feelings on competitive products and try to just to write down the meat of what you get from them and their pain points, their triumphs, every single thing, and throw it on. Like, most designers use sticky notes or something, and you'll see like a whole whiteboard full of sticky notes put in certain categories. And from there, people usually start thinking of, okay, this is how I attack the problem, right? And then user interviews are just one of the methods of getting that substance. What you'll usually do is just talk to a user and be like, if you already have an existing product, you'll walk them through and see what the pain points are and other things, or you'll just be generating ideas from that user interview. That's just a long-winded way of saying, nothing is really accidental when it comes to design. I kind of wanted to break down some of the opportunities within designing in tech. I think it's really underrated in terms of job market. I would say it's like almost as hot as any like software engineering type job on the market as well. We're just going to get familiar with some of these terms. So UX UI designer, it's interesting that I broke up UX and UI. They seem pretty different, but you see that the very first job on here is a UX and UI designer. That's because in the workforce, you'll usually be having to do both. So you'll have to do research for your team and like understand what the user needs from your design. Also, they make you implement that design as well, like make the visual design elements. That's definitely a reason why they're often packaged together. So user experience research and interaction design, that's kind of like doing more on the research side. If you're like me, I really kind of suck at art, to be honest. And so I like doing the research. And actually, when I kind of try to explain UX and even UI sometimes to other people, I kind of explain it like this. It's the scientific method of art and tech. You have some sort of hypothesis and you see it through with different methods until the end. It's really cool in that way, in which like it does appeal to the creative side, but you as a designer come up with your own process. And once you find that process, it really becomes something that you can get a handle on. You're not having writer's block every single time that you do this process. You get better and better. UX researcher is kind of pretty similar to interaction designer. That's why I put them together. You'll find that in this industry, especially, they make a bunch of names within the tech industry like every year or so. So they have multiple names for the same job. Product designers are essentially UX UI designers with a couple extra steps, just because they're thinking about the design system itself as well as designing for user needs. When you're working in a team of designers, you'll usually start off as UX UI designers, but as you get up there, you'll probably maybe transition to I know a lot of people transition to product designers, and these are the people that actually make the systems that these UX UI designers design from and continually evolve that design library. I think it's a really interesting job because you get to make your team more efficient in designing, and also you constantly evolve the design language of the company. It's pretty cool. And you still get to do the day-to-day of a UX UI designer as well. And then you have the front-end developer. If you know about web development, there's back end, there's a front end. So the back end takes care of all the data, and it serves the front end that displays it in a certain way. You get to see a lot of design sketches in this role, and you get to implement all the designs that your designers get to you eventually. And then the UX engineer is kind of a unicorn. I don't like to say that word, but they are. They're someone who knows how to design really well and also code pretty well as well. Yeah, it's really rare to find these people, but they do exist, and they essentially do wireframes and prototypes and make them come to life. In this field, you need a lot of proof of concepts because it's not okay just to have these things in your mind. You got to put them down on paper. And so, some things that work on paper, you can't possibly tell from just thinking about it, and then vice versa. They really do the translation by doing a really early mock-ups and telling you, okay, we can actually design this, or it's not really possible with the constraints we have to do this type of design. So what's in store? As Create, we have a lot of exciting events coming up and programs for you guys, and they'll be much more interactive. You could think of this as more of an info session for what's to come. But yeah, we definitely are a hands-on bunch of folks. So Intro to Figma, that's our next workshop. Figma is the most popular design tool out there right now. If you want to learn how to design prototypes and wireframes, those are just, fancy words of saying mock-ups of apps and websites. Definitely download it. It's free. As a student, you get access to the pro version, which lets you have teams and a lot of other cool features. And you'll obviously need it to be able to participate in that workshop design thinking series. So I kind of talked about the process as a designer. We're going to have a series called the Design Thinking Series. And essentially it's going to prep you for getting your process down. And I think that's pretty important to say because all of us as creatives in tech have different paths that we go down when it comes to how we think. And so what we want to do is just help nudge you in the right direction and develop your style. Also, in order to get a lot of the jobs in the industry, you have to have something called a case study. And so that's basically creating either a new app based on research and, just for fun or anything that you're interested in, or redesigning like a feature or maybe even an entire website or app. Also based on research. Yeah, we'll go into more what a case study is, but definitely having that will be necessary in order to get into these types of spaces. And also you get practice designing and, thinking about how to take problems that are seemingly abstract and putting them into a workflow that creates something awesome at the end. Stick around for that. That will be when that will be announced is in progress. And then Fun with Frank. This is another event that we're going to be having soon. So I don't know if you've all seen, but we have our mascot Frank. This will be an opportunity to flex your design muscles or artistry muscles, whatever, and just create your own version of Frank. And we're also looking to increase the amount of Frank emotes on our Discord server. So if you want to help us out with that as well during that event, that would be awesome. All right, that is the end of our info session.